Hi all, my name is Nicholas Lim. Thank you for coming to USUM. I am going to present to you today about apps and tech for the new reality that we see ourselves in now.
If I were to continue the presentation with that sound and video quality, I'd wager that you'd leave the room pretty quickly. I am Nicholas Lim, EM and ICU consultant based out of Singapore, and I'm going to teach you how to up your Zoom, Webex, and Teams game. The reality of the pandemic is that a lot of education is now going to be conducted online. A lot of it is going to be delivered by webinars and online platforms like Zoom, Webex, or Teams. You may go, hey, I've done some public speaking lessons. So what? I'm a pretty good live speaker. What are you trying to tell me, Dr. Lim? If we have to send out a message, it is very difficult to convey the message clearly if the signal is not good. Imagine going to a cinema and watching the latest Marvel Studios offering and finding out that they shot the movie with a camera and microphone from a mobile phone from the early 2000s. You'll be pretty disappointed, right? One of the most important factors to retaining audiences that podcasters have found is sound quality. A survey conducted by Podbean, one of the largest podcast servers, found that listeners were less likely to continue listening and or to subscribe to the podcast if the sound quality was poor. We've got to take a page from the gaming streamers, vloggers, and podcasters. They know how to keep a captive audience. If a group of 12-year-olds can do this, all of us involved in medical education can. If you are passionate about education, and I'm sure most of you are, if you have spent hours, maybe days, putting together your keynote or PowerPoint presentation, looking at the basics like audio and video quality is paramount and really is part of the presentation package. Let's talk about some basics. Let's talk about lighting. In this case, it is difficult to make out the presenter's face or body language because she is in a shadow. Don't present with your back to a window or with a bright light behind you. This is a better scene. There is a large reflection in the window that takes away from the presenter, so it's not the best. This is probably the best of the lot. A plain background is the best. The scene is well lit up, facial expressions are clear, body language will show up well. Investing in a ring light can often help to light up your facial features as well. For example, left, no ring light, lots of shadow. I'm not using a ring light at the moment because I can't afford one. On the right, that's the ring light effect. And you can see that the face is very well lit up. We have to also consider about the decor of the room that you are going to use for your presentations. Curtains, pillows, other soft furnishings can blunt the angles in the room and prevent echo. Short of podcasting or broadcasting from a fully treated soundproofed room, this is the second best option. Now, let's talk a little bit about the equipment. If you're going into a Zoom conference, you better have good internet connection. And by that, I mean at least 1.5 megabits upload and download. And if you're using multiple screens, it's likely that you're going to need a higher megabit per second connection rate. Hospital connections are, and don't use your mobile phone as a mobile hotspot to try and use the internet via there. You need a modern enough laptop as well, preferably one in the last 5 years. If your Apple is not updating your Mac OS, chances are high that Zoom is not going to be working very well for you. The other thing is, close all your active Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari windows when you're going on a Zoom conference, especially one where you are projecting ultrasound images or clips. Safari open windows like that can take up a lot of bandwidth and cause your presentation to be projected poorly. One of the most important aspects that we spoke about earlier was sound. So let's just make a rule here. Let's say no integrated mics. Repeat after me. No integrated mics. Laptop integrated mics are not good enough. Have a look at this setup here. See where the two mics are situated, right over the cooling fans of the laptop. This picks up the cooling fan noise, any of the ambient noise, and especially if you're typing or pressing keys for your keynote presentation, this will also pick up that keyboard noise. Get at least a USB mic, which you can find on Amazon quite cheaply. Without going into too much details of the microphone pickup patterns and designs, the type of microphone that you want when you first start out is a dynamic cardioid type. And to explain what that is, so that is a cardioid pattern where up here, this is the front of the microphone. So when you speak into the front of the microphone, it picks it up. Behind, there is no pickup. So if there are noises at the back of the microphone or to the side of it, the pickup is not so good, i.e. ambient noises in the room, footsteps or something happening outside your house. Now, let's talk about video. The standard laptop webcams are usually only 720p, and they usually project at 30 frames per second. Going back to the Avengers movie that we spoke about earlier, made on a 2000 era mobile phone, you want something that makes you look good. 1080p minimum, 30 frames per second, but 60 frames per second is obviously better. Integrated laptop webcams are usually the cheapest possible to fit in such a small space. Even your mobile phone does better than that. Apps like Irion Webcam will enable you to use your mobile phone as a webcam wirelessly or by Bluetooth. At the end of this presentation, I will show you a QR code, and that will link you to almost a shopping list. You don't necessarily need to buy everything out there or in that list, but it's a good guide to what is available out there. Dedicated webcams that that plug into the USB port on your computer are also decent devices for camera use, for webcam use. So like the Logitech Brio, which actually projects 4K at ultra high definition at 30 frames per second. The Razer Kiyo Pro I use myself, that's a 1080p camera, and that projects at 60 frames per second. You can take a step up, you can upgrade your setup as well to this, which is if you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, you can use that, plugging it into a Camlink. This is a Elgato Camlink 4K, which takes a HDMI signal from the camera and converts it to a USB signal. So when you plug it into your laptop, your PC, Mac, it will read it as a webcam. Now, we come to the point in the presentation where we want to settle the dreaded Zoom, Teams, or Webex lag. And this is where you have spent lots of time getting your ultrasound clips embedded into your presentation. When you go to do this online presentation, you find that it doesn't play properly. Worse yet, you don't know, but your audience will definitely know. So, let's look at the native frame rate for most echocardiography images, and that's usually taken at 30 frames per second. So this is the native frame rate of a parasternal long axis. Now, if you embedded this clip into your presentation and projected it via the Zoom screen share or Teams or Webex, this is likely the image that you're going to project. Can't really see that? Let's look at them side by side. Remember the last webinar or presentation that you listened to where the presenter went, "Oh, it's not presenting very well. Okay, maybe you want to close your eyes. Imagine the mitral valve. Okay, do you see the mitral valve? Right. Now imagine if this was a clip showing more advanced pathology. You will lose your audience quicker than a fire alarm going off in the building. So let's look at this. TR-jet, we want to classify this as whether it's moderate, mild, moderate, or severe. If you project this through the Zoom screen share, this is likely what your attendees are going to see. Okay, and again, if we project them side by side, you can see that the image on the right, it doesn't really convey the same information as the image on the left. So, how are we going to do this? Let's just start by saying, as you wouldn't share a toothbrush, let's say no to screen sharing. Using the shared screen function hands over control of the frame rate of your video clip or presentation to Zoom, Webex, or Teams. They will want to decrease the frame rate to conserve bandwidth. You can consider open source software like the Open Broadcaster software or OBS. This is, at the moment, most webinars require you to share your screen. In USM and other big conferences, and big shout out to the IT team who are projecting my presentation live in the auditorium so you can see my video at the native frame rate I would see when I'm projecting at home or project it in a lecture theatre live. This is, however, not the case with Zoom. If you incorporate OBS with a Stream Deck, this will allow you to quickly switch between cameras. If you set up multiple cameras, it will also allow you to change your presentation settings and viewing angles. So, for example, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, and I can do this very, very quickly. This is OBS. When you download OBS and open it up, this is exactly what you get. You will see here in the bottom left corner of the screen, there's scenes and sources. So I use OBS quite a bit, and I already have a few scenes set up. But I'm going to show you how useful this tool is for teaching, especially if you're teaching quite a few people on webinars via Zoom or Webex or Teams either. So let's set up a scene. So I'm going to type open a new scene here. So I'll say USM. I'll click OK. So I have no sources. I'm going to set up my sources now for this particular scene. So the first one I want to set up is my camera. And I'm going to go video capture device here. So I've already set up quite a few cameras here. So I'm just going to set up what's plugged into my computer, which is the A6400 camera that I have. It's a 4K camera, so that's why it's quite big. So I'm going to get it to fit to the screen, and then now you can see me talking. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to reduce the size of this and move this around, okay? I can put it in that corner over there when I'm talking with my PowerPoint. And I'll show you how to project this to Zoom in a little bit as well. So I have this. I'll set this camera up in this little corner. Now, the beauty of this is that you can have multiple camera streams projecting through this scene. So the next camera I would like to set up, I'm going to set up another camera. So we're going to video capture device again. So I'll say phone webcam. Okay, so I have my phone connected up wirelessly via the app called Irion Webcam. So you can see now this is another camera. So I'm just going to increase the size of this. Okay, I'll bring my face down here. So and what I'm going to do is you can see that I can use it to scan and show people hand movements with ultrasound. Okay, now you can set this up as a camera mounted on a tripod. Obviously the possibilities are endless. So that's one beauty of OBS. You can set up multiple camera feeds. Okay, so I'm just going to switch off the phone cam. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to set up the PowerPoint. So we're going to want to show our PowerPoint. So let's go to display capture. Also on the same scene USM. So we're adding more and more sources to this. So don't mind this. This is just showing my primary monitor. So I'm going to show my secondary monitor. Now you can do this all with the one monitor. That's no problem. And now, so I click OK, and I bring my, so this is multiple layers of scenes. So I'm going to bring my camera back to the front here. So you can see as you present, you will have a camera feed here, and your PowerPoint can go, or your keynote can go in the background here. The OBS, you have this function called the virtual cam. So if I click on the virtual cam, now what this does is it gets Zoom it gets OBS to project this as a video output. So when I load up my Zoom, okay, so now I have Zoom open. I click on new meeting. And so I'll just join with computer audio. And what I can do then is I click on my video, and you can see that once you have set up OBS, you'll see an OBS virtual camera. And if you have the virtual camera switched on for the OBS scene, you can actually project this onto Zoom. And this is my Zoom screen. So you can see all the videos will play at their native frame rate. You can adjust your camera wherever you would like it to be. You can show multiple camera feeds through the one video feed on Zoom. And that's why I think this is an excellent app to help with the teaching of ultrasound. Combining OBS with this particular piece of kit called the Elgato Stream Deck makes your ultrasound presentations all the more powerful. Let me show you how this works. So this is the Stream Deck, and you can see that I have this all pre-programmed already. Now I have my virtual camera outputting to Zoom. So what we can do now is we open up the Zoom channel, and this is what you see. So this is your Zoom feed. So this is what attendees see. And with a simple press of the button, so I can go to my PowerPoint just by pressing that, and then you can see how the zoom actually changes just by even pressing the buttons. So here we go. So back to that, and the possibilities are infinite. So let's talk about our take-home points now. I'm not suggesting a global arms race to get the best audio and video equipment, but the bare minimum should be a dedicated webcam and USB microphone. High quality audio doesn't distract you from the content of the show. It welcomes you in, and thus you are able to enjoy listening, learning, or being entertained. If you are passionate about teaching, think about upgrading aspects of your AV equipment that will give your audience a better experience, your PowerPoint keynote that much more memorable. Level up your presentations with OBS. Stop Zoom lag by not playing ultrasound clips on the share screen. Use OBS, set up your scenes, play ultrasound video clips at their native rate, not the low frame rate that the share screen tries to accommodate. This is the QR code that you can scan that brings you to a Google Sheet that gives you a list of all the applications and hardware that I use. And that's me.